Hi there, this is Chef Bill at the Culinary Institute of America. In French cuisine, they have a foundational mix of aromatic vegetables that really defines the way French food tastes. It's called mirepoix, and it's simply this right here. 50% onions, 25% carrots, and 25% celery. Now, you can cut it large if you're going to put it into a stock that will cook for a long time, or very small if it goes into a fish dish that will cook start to finish in about 5 minutes. We have these cut coarsely because they're going into a braise. Now, the braised meat that I'm making is going to be dark, and so it makes sense that we would brown these vegetables before they're added to the dish. If you look over here, I have some of these vegetables browning already. Of these three vegetables, onions, carrots, celery, the onions and the carrots have a lot of sugar in them, and so they will brown very, very nicely. I have those in the pan already with a little bit of oil, and you can see they've taken on a nice, deep, golden brown color. It makes sense to brown mirepoix in a large pan that has a lot of surface area. That allows the moisture to escape, and things will brown more easily rather than stew in their own liquid. When you get this level of color, you're just about where you want to be. You can also use your nose to sort of tell you when it's ready because it has a much richer, almost caramelized smell to it. The next step is to put the celery in. And the celery, because there's so much water and so little sugar, will not brown very well at all. And so I'll add that towards the end, and we'll continue to brown. All right, so this is mirepoix. Onions, celery, and carrots. This particular mirepoix is being browned. I mentioned French cuisine as the roots of mirepoix, and I think that's right, but the idea spread to Northern European cuisine, and as Northern Europeans made their way to the Americas, mirepoix came along. So this really shapes the cuisine in a lot of different cultures. What this provides is a depth of flavor and a complexity that is iconic. You know, it defines French food, it defines Northern European food, and now it even defines American food. A pot roast starts with mirepoix. All right, if we want to take this a step further, we can take mirepoix and turn it into what's known as a pansage, where you add tomato paste to it. Now, this is appropriate for dark dishes, not for a white chicken noodle soup, but for a pot roast or a braised piece of meat. So in goes the tomato paste, and I want to cook that as well. There's plenty of sugar in there, and I can deepen the color of this dish, but also make the flavor deeper, rounder, and more complex just by spending a little bit of time browning this tomato paste into what's known as a pansage. I'm not going to take the time to do it here, but let me show you. Here's a pansage that's been made already. Begins with browned mirepoix, you add the tomato paste, and ultimately you end up with something very rich and deep and complex. If you were to want to do it, you could add herbs to this mixture. It's not part of mirepoix, but it's not uncommon to say, you know, I'd like the flavor of some thyme and some parsley stems in there. And so I have them here. One great little technique I'll share with you is this. If I take a stalk of celery, just like this, and inside that celery I lay branches of thyme, I lay the stems of parsley, and you can take the leaves off and use them as a garnish, but the stems shouldn't be discarded. And maybe I also put in here a bay leaf or two. Then I can take the other piece of celery, put it on top, and tie that all together into what the French would call a bouquet garni, a little bouquet of garnishes. So around like that and like this, and I tie this closed. That then could be dipped into the pot of your braised meat, and it could stay there very happily until you're ready to remove it, and then it comes out very, very easily. So there's a bouquet garni. Let's say instead you wanted to add finer things like spices, things like peppercorns. You might have to tie it up into a little tea bag known as a sachet d'épices or a spice bag. Use a piece of cheesecloth. You can add all these same ingredients plus the spices, and that can go into your dish. All right, so that's it. That's Mirepoix 101. That's pansage. I showed you how to brown it. If and when you come to the CIA and you're called upon to make a veal stock, now you know one of the foundational techniques that will assure your success. So that's all there is to that. This is Mirepoix. I've shown you what it is. I've shown you how to brown it. I've shown you how to make a pansage with tomato paste. And while you can't appreciate it at home, I am leaning over this pot and it smells so familiar, so complex, so delicious. It's almost like a hug when you come home at the end of the day. This is really a compelling foundational flavor and foundational technique that you can take into your kitchen and it will assure your success.